I didn't fear competition. You know, when you're first doing an idea, you know, everyone's saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" There's
sure. Oh my God, yes.
This, is that. But if you're going to open a steak restaurant, there's a steak restaurant in every corner. Italian, sushi, sure. Whatever it may be. Competition is good because you know there's a demand, right? So you don't want to go into something where you're the only guy doing something.
Ooh, I like that. All right, we're live. Say hello, buddy.
How you guys doing? I'm always live.
You are, dude. I got to tell you something.
Live.
I was sitting right there in my car right outside, and I'm on a call, and you were pacing back and forth on the phone.
Always on the phone.
And I'm like, this guy's got amazing energy. This is going to be awesome. Barry, thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it. I spent a lot of time in this place. Oh, it's good. Let's get into it. Good morning, everybody. My name is Alex Vidal. I am president of Related ISG International Realty, and we are coming to you live from one of my favorite lunch spots. It's not just lunch. I come here all throughout the day, morning,
all times.
All times. RawJuce with 9 locations throughout South Florida. But first, you are watching the 94th episode of The Closer Club. And
the best one.
He did say that. He goes,
the best one.
Who would have known the 94th episode was the best one? We're sitting here with Barry Rabkin, and Barry is the founder of RawJuce, 9 locations throughout South Florida, one of my favorite restaurants. And long story short, when I was speaking with one of the managers here in the Weston location, we were talking about how it got started, and he mentioned the story about Barry. And I will tell you that Kevin, if I remember correctly, right?
Yes, Kevin.
Kevin is a raving fan. Great. He's a raving fan of RawJuce, right?
Okay.
And for us, that's how important your employees are to have raving fans, because if it wasn't for that, this show wouldn't be going on.
That's right.
Barry, you ready?
I'm ready.
Always ready. Always ready. All right, 10, 15 minutes, we're going to rock and roll. Barry, tell us a little bit about how you even got into creating RawJuce.
Okay, so in 2009, it was January of 2009, I was washing my face in my bathroom.
Yeah.
And when I came up, there was a golf ball lump right there that I had never seen before. It wasn't like each day it got bigger. All of a sudden, I just saw a golf ball. And you know, when you see that, it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it sets off this chain of events where you start going to your doctor. And I remember going to my regular doctor, was the first person that I went to see. And when I walked into the waiting room and he came in to see me, I saw right away, he was like, you know, right when he walked in, he was like,
interesting.
So I knew we were going in a different direction. Yeah. He actually took out a ruler and started measuring it.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, it was you know, upsetting. And then all of a sudden he's like, listen, I'm going to put you on some heavy antibiotics. And if this goes down by Monday, great.
Yeah.
And if not, you know which direction we're going to be taking this to. So obviously it didn't go down. Went down to Sylvester. Okay. Dr. Goodwin was my surgeon. Those guys are the best down there. I recommend anyone to go down to University of Miami at Sylvester.
That's right.
Threw in a plug there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know,
my wife got brain surgery at UM. I'm all for UM.
Okay.
So even though we're Gators, but we're all for UM. So you discovered you had what type of cancer?
Thyroid cancer.
Thyroid cancer.
Yeah, okay. And also it had spread into my lymph nodes.
Got it.
So they didn't realize that till the operation. So they operated on me. They cut me open from behind the ear down to the collarbone and over.
Got it.
Ripped out everything, the thyroid, the lymph nodes, everything.
You can't see anything. It's crazy.
Yep. Well, they're good. I told you they're good.
Yeah, they're good.
No makeup, but they're good. And, you know, so afterwards, I'm just not feeling myself. I'm a high energy guy, like you said. You saw me pacing outside. Absolutely. I'm always on the phone. I'm always texting, on the phone, whatever it may be. And I'm just a step slow, you know, maybe 2 steps slow. And I'm like, I need to get, you know, more energy. And when you're speaking to your doctors, you know, after this, they're sort of just raising your medication or lowering your medication. And the medication when you have thyroid cancer is Thyroid, which it's not fun going up and down. It's literally going up and down. And then all of a sudden I met someone who was introducing me to superfoods. That's what she called it at the time. And I started taking those, and then she's like, you should start juicing. And I just started very basic, Tropicana orange juice, bananas, strawberries, blueberries in a blender, okay? Something I would never have now, right? Tropicana orange juice. But I gotta tell you, I started feeling better. And then I immediately was on Google like everybody else, and now I'm searching, what do I do? And I bought a Breville, went to Whole Foods, grabbed my shopping cart, and I just filled it up with fruits, vegetables. I didn't care what it was.
Okay.
I didn't care about taste. I didn't care what it was. If I couldn't even pronounce the vegetable, great. It was going in the cart.
Got it.
And then it was going in the Breville. And I was just making jugs of this stuff. And when I tell you, I started feeling like Superman. I mean, my energy levels were going through the roof. My whole body was changing. I mean, my whole body. Skin, hair, nails, weight.
Was this while you were fighting the cancer, or was this post-cancer?
This is after the operation.
Got it.
Okay. So after the operation, I just wasn't feeling myself.
Got it.
Okay.
Were you doing chemo, or was it?
It's you take Thyroid, you take radioactive iodine.
Got it.
Okay. They put this.
So you're doing all that while you're juicing, right?
Well, the juicing started after my treatment.
Okay.
Okay. And now I'm feeling great. So when you first have cancer, you're going to the doctor after the operation. They're testing your blood. And all of a sudden, a month into me juicing, my blood work is coming back great. So now the doctors are like, what are you doing? And as my blood work's getting better and better, they're lowering my medication, okay, which is obviously good. So I'm like, I'm juicing. They're like, well, what are you even talking about, you know? And I told them, and they're like, well, okay. And then after like 3 or 4 of these, they were like, you know, we really don't need to see you this often. We don't need to really see you. Just keep doing this. You look great.
Got it.
You know? So then I was like, okay, now I need to do something with this, right? And the only thing that came into my head was like, want to be the Starbucks of juice. Want to be the Starbucks of juice.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay.
Wow. Wanted to have a good vibe, you know, the highest quality, great vibe. That's what I wanted. So I realized quickly that I didn't know anything about the restaurant business, fast casual, you know, that's what this is called, fast casual. My partners will tell you that I still know nothing about the restaurant business, and they may be right, but I know this.
Got it.
You know, I know
And what were you doing before?
I was the total opposite. I mean, you had on the Jordan Belfort, The Wolf of Wall Street, so I came from that area, Long Island, New York.
Got it.
I was a stockbroker back then in the 90s.
Interesting.
And living a totally different lifestyle.
Yeah, sure.
Hopefully my kids
some would say the stress of that maybe even led you to develop the cancer. There's a lot of research. There's a lot of research.
My office, in September 11th, my office was right across the street from the Twin Towers.
Wow.
Okay, there was nothing between the Twin Towers and my office. Okay, nothing, just a street.
Got it.
And we were there that day. And so we lost that building. We lost that business, the whole thing. So
you never know.
So
here you are, you're battling cancer.
Right.
And I think that one of the 3 key components to a successful real estate business, any business actually, is that inner motivation.
Right.
So what was that inner motivation for you to say, all right, I'm battling cancer right now. Forget even RawJuce is even in existence yet. What was that inner motivation for you to want to fight that fight and deal with the ups and downs of the medicine and all that?
Well, in fighting cancer, is that what your question was? You know, look, I've been a high energy, successful guy. I was very successful as a stockbroker.
Got it.
The 90s, 2000s. I was an institutional SPAC broker before I was doing, before I got the cancer. And I believe I was the largest on the street at the time. So I've always been successful. So when I got this, I was like, you know, it was annoying me that I wasn't feeling myself afterwards. You know, I was like going out of my mind, and most people were like, hey man, you just got cancer, you just had your operation, you just had radioactive iodine. You know, your body's getting used to the Thyroid, you know, calm down, you know. And I'm like, no, you know, I can't feel like this. I was going out of my mind. So that was the inner motivation to get back to feeling the way that I did.
You know, it's funny, you hear a lot about inner motivation, and everybody's got a different answer. That's the first time, and I've asked this question, not on all 94 episodes, but I've asked it a lot. That's the first time somebody said, I wasn't feeling right, and I would do whatever it took to feel like myself again.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to do whatever it took.
I love that.
There's no doubt about that.
So you now have 9 locations throughout South Florida. You know, Palm Beach County, Broward County, Dade County as well. I think I've probably been to 5 of the 9.
Right.
In my travels to my different offices.
Right.
Definitely opening up 9 restaurants has its bumps and bruises. What would you say are your top 3 business lessons that you've learned in running, in opening and running the business?
Right. Well, you know, one, I want to make sure that everyone understands is, you know, my 2 partners are world-class restaurant operators.
Okay.
You know, one of them came out of Quiznos. He had 5,000 restaurants in their peak. Jeff Levine had Salad Creations. Brother Jimmy's in New York City, which is like this famous bar. I used to go there not even knowing it was Jeff's.
Got it.
Okay.
Small world.
He had like 40 or 60 Salad Creations or whatever, which is why I went to Jeff first, because he was the only one I knew that even could do something like this.
Got it.
So those guys really, you know, make this, you know,
what it is
happen.
Okay.
Right? I'm more like, I like to say I'm like the maitre d'. You know, you walk in, I'm talking to everyone. That's what I like to do. I can connect with people.
So lesson 1, surround yourself with people smarter than you in the business that you're doing to get the right advice. Got it?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. This business I thought was going to be easy. It's very hard. So I don't think I was ready for how slow and hard it was.
Okay.
Now our first store was a grand slam home run. Grand slam home run. We did $3 million in sales out of a store the same size as this. 1,000 square feet, 1,500 square feet. So those are unheard of numbers.
Sure, absolutely. That's a lot of juice, man.
Right, that's a lot of juice. So I was dumb enough before we started the business to believe that I could do something like that, okay? And it happened. But then replicating that is definitely a challenge because each store takes a little bit away from yourself.
Sure, absolutely.
You can only spread yourself so thin.
Got it.
So it's really that lesson of, you know, you can't replicate yourself. It makes it very difficult, makes it frustrating. We're all control guys. You want to control your business. I want to control my business. My partners want to control it. And as you open each store, you lose a little bit of control.
All right, so it sounds like the lesson 2 is have the right employees to help you get that scale.
And we do. Our people are amazing. Our culture is amazing.
We'll save that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that because I'm a huge culture guy.
Yes.
All right. And give me, what about another business lesson?
Another business lesson is it's just, and I knew this coming in, but it just hit me square in the face. You're going to need a lot more money than you think to keep these things going.
Got it. So surround yourself with the right people that know what they're doing when it comes to opening the business that you're opening. Have the right employees in place to be able to scale. And whatever you think it's going to cost you to do it, triple it because it's probably going to be that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and triple the time too. I've learned that one the hard way. Yeah, it's only going to take 6 months. Like you're a year later. Here we are. Now, one of the things I love about RawJuice and its success is you're in a very hyperactive, very competitive vertical in juicing. I think there's a health food restaurant on every corner, it seems like, right? But you've been able to stay ahead of that competition. You've been able to create Raving Fans. How do you create Raving Fans out of RawJuice, and what can our viewers learn from that? As we shared off camera, there's close to 60,000 realtors in Dade and Broward County. So we're no stranger to competition. And so I'd love for the audience to learn about how you've been able to do it, because maybe that's something that they can put into their business.
You know, I didn't fear competition. You know, when you're first doing an idea, you know, everyone's saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" There's
oh my God, yes.
This, that. But if you're going to open a steak restaurant, there's a steak restaurant in every corner. Italian, sushi, whatever it may be. Competition is good because you know there's a demand, right? So you don't want to go into something where you're the only guy doing something.
Ooh, I like that.
And then too, you just gotta, you gotta work harder than everyone. You gotta be true to yourself. You gotta be authentic. So when people were coming into that first store and seeing us, they knew we were authentic. You know, they were speaking to me. They understood that I was a fanatic about this stuff. And they understood that my partners were experts at the execution side. So that combination was incredible, because if it was just them, it might have not have been as good. And if it was just me, it definitely wouldn't have been as good. Definitely wouldn't have been as good. So that combination was amazing. And we are authentic. It's like, you know, there's a not organic today on the board over there, okay? That's real, you know? If we can't source blueberries from our distributors, and then we run over to Whole Foods, or in this center, we were going to run over to Publix and pay retail
to make it happen.
And if they're out of it also, it's going on the board. It's non-organic today. Whereas other juice places, you walk in, you say, "Hey, is this organic?" And they're like, "Well, some things are, or sometimes it is." You know, it either is or it is.
And what I love most is your gratitude wall. I practice gratitude exercises. I love that. But, you know, it's very interesting you said that. It's like, you know, you were able to create the Raving Fans not only because of your passion for the business, but the passion of the company behind you, or let's say the people behind you, and making that happen. That's why having the right brokerage behind you is important. I love that. Thanks for doing that, by the way. Thanks for that. I love that. So now you're expanding RawJuice and getting into the franchising.
Yes.
And so going back to, there's 50,000 realtors, right? How do you create that value proposition? Because what I want the realtors watching this to learn, or anybody in sales, is, hey, again, what's stopping me from going and opening Vidal Juices versus, you know, partnering up with you guys and opening a RawJuice franchise? So how did you go about creating that value proposition?
Well, you know, the value proposition is, one, our stuff is expensive, right? We're on the higher end, Okay, and the reason that we're on the higher end is because it costs a fortune to do this. If you're going to be strict and you're going to be fresh and you're going to be organic and you're going to have enough people to, you know, serve the people without having to wait a half an hour for your smoothie, it's going to cost money, you know, and that's, so when someone comes into the business, I'm like, let them open up. They're going to be out of business in a year, 2 years, 6 months, whatever it may be. And usually when we come into a town, you know, whether this is good, bad, or indifferent, the juice bars that are around us usually aren't around us for long, you know, because we don't cut corners. I mean, it's really about cutting corners, right? You know,
well, and you know, you said something so, man, it's something that's resonating so much with me. I launched a show. A couple of people had podcasts here, and then you know, guys in the real estate space, and then all of a sudden, all these other brokerages started opening up their own podcasts, and I'd get an email a week, hey, somebody else is doing it, somebody else is doing it. I'm like, awesome, great, because you know what? They don't have the passion, and I can tell your passion for what you're doing. Absolutely. I mean, it saved your life, really, right? So, or brought you back to life. Right. You know, that passion for my podcast. The reality is, I don't care who does it, because I'm 94 episodes in, they couldn't make it past 4. Right. You know, or they did it and they dropped it. Right. You know, so
it's very true. You got to be passionate. You got to be authentic. You know, the truth. You don't have to remember things if you're telling the truth all the time, right?
Man, how big is that? That's an important one.
Just tell the truth, and then you never have to like catch yourself. Sure.
Now, when I asked you coming into the interview, I said, "What's one thing you really want to talk about?" And you're like, "Our people, our culture." And we actually, I'm a huge fan of culture. Like, we have a company mascot that's an alligator on roller skates drinking a cup of coffee. And I say, if you work for our brokerage, you need 3 things. You need alligator skin, so that things bounce off of you. Coffee, because we don't sleep. Roller skates, because we move fast. So we turned it into a pin, and we give it to somebody who embodies the culture of our company.
I like it.
So talk to me about how you were able to create this culture and why it's been such an integral part of your success.
I think one thing at RawJuce, which we did at the beginning, was, you know, we were this new trendsetter, right? You know, we were here, and we didn't want experienced people from Starbucks or Chipotle. We weren't looking for people that were in the business. We wanted athletes. We wanted people with personality. We wanted people with, you know, that did yoga, you know, in the community. So when we were hiring these people, and they were like-minded people, you know, it created this team like this, and everyone was into it. And anytime someone came from a previous restaurant or a previous Chipotle, whatever it was, they never made it, because they were like set in their ways. They didn't understand that this is a living, breathing thing. RawJuce is a living, breathing, organic thing. Sure. What happens in this store may not happen in another store because of the people. You know, we're not robots. So, and one of the things we say to the people all the time, have fun. The most important thing is to have fun. Have fun with the guests. Just have fun. Because if you're having fun, it comes through. You're happy, the guest is happy. Everything else is easier. If you're not having fun and the guest is like, oh my God, look at this person.
Correct.
With the
they
frown.
don't even want to work here.
Right, with the frown. I can't wait to get out of here.
That's right. And I will tell you, for every single RawJuce I've been with, everybody's been extremely friendly. Everybody's been high energy. And you're right, that's one of the reasons what makes me a repeat customer. Great product, great service, and across the board you've been able to deliver that. And you mentioned something, that environment is so important, to know that you're in a company or you have other employees that are just as committed to juicing and just as committed to the business is huge. Barry, last question. I wrap up every interview like this. Book, podcast, or TED Talk recommendation for the audience?
Well, the book, if you want to learn about plant-based eating,
go for
which is what RawJuce is. RawJuce is plant-based eating. The book is, the title's a little weird, but it's How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger. And it's an amazing book. When I read that book, the lights really went on in my head. And plant-based eating is the holy grail for everything. If you want to be stronger, eat more plants. If you want to be faster, eat more plants. If you want to lose weight, eat more plants. If you want to beat type 2 diabetes, eat more plants. If you want to lower your inflammation, eat more plants. It's just every single thing comes back to that.
Crazy story. This morning, so we have every Monday I weigh myself, and then on Fridays I check in with my nutritionist on Fridays. And I'm like, it's crazy how over the weekend I can gain 5 or 6 pounds over the weekend. Sometimes water weight. And my wife is like, she hits the same number 7 days a week. And my wife went to plant-based about a year ago. And she goes, you eat meat? I'm like, but I didn't eat meat this weekend. You had chicken, you had this, you had that. And I'm like, you know what, you're right. So we actually had this conversation this morning.
It's so true. And what's great about plant-based eating is you can eat as much as you want. You don't have to count this, count that. You know, it's great.
And how about do you watch TED Talks or any podcasts aside from the Closer Club?
Well, the number one podcast, of course, is the Closer Club. So, you know, that's that.
You got it.
I only need one.
Barry, thank you so much, man. I'm going to go behind and turn off the camera. Do you have any parting words for the audience before I turn off the camera?
Just, you know, we're trying hard here at RawJuce. If anyone wants to open up some franchises in Houston, Dallas, Phoenix, Arizona, give us a call.
There you go.